her ethos ultimately is a winning strategy. Get people that know what they're doing, get them to know how to work together, be really good at selling your proposition and getting credit for what makes you different. That will prevail.
Download Chatter That Matters wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks again to RBC for your support of Small Business Matters.
Houston, 1026.
And the biz report to the Remote Business Center we go. Richard Southern.
Good evening. It was a perfect day, wasn't it, for a little dip in the pool, if you're lucky enough to have one. And, with the ongoing pandemic closing public pools and amid people canceling their summer vacations, it seems they're looking to make their own fun at home. Pool sales are through the roof. And we're talking about everything from kiddie pools to the big in-ground construction projects. And one of those in-ground pools starts at around $35,000. You can spend a lot more than that on it too, but people are opting for more affordable options. Amazon says it can't keep in stock one popular pool that's 8 foot wide, 2.5 foot deep. It's inflatable above ground with a water filter for $222. Amazon says sales of pools and pool-related products have doubled from where they were at this time last year. All right, meantime, Canada Post swinging to a first quarter loss despite a big uptick in the amount of parcels it's been delivering during the COVID-19 pandemic. Canada Post says it lost $66 million before taxes in the first quarter. Revenue, though, was up 2% to $1.68 billion. Canada Post says a lot of the issues with profit had to do with the fact that direct mail continues to dwindle. No such dwindling to report on Bay Street. The TSX kicked off the new week of trade with a 161-point gain, up 1% to 15,075, and had to do it without the usual influence of Wall Street. U.S. financial markets were closed today for the Memorial Day holiday in the States. Broad-based win on Bay Street. A lot of the sectors moved higher. We saw strength for the banking stocks as the big banks get set to report earnings later in the week. Scotiabank up 1.75% to $51.99. Scotia set to open up its books first thing tomorrow morning. Could be a rough quarter for the banks. Price for gold, $1,727 US the ounce. The loonie at 71.45 cents US. The top stories next on 680 News.
Be the first to know. Breaking news as soon as it happens. 680 News.
Want to discover this year's most innovative new products? Visit productoftheyear.ca. From the buzziest beauty products and luxe culinary finds to cutting-edge
Double up.
Southside, get close, we get close, we ride it. Southside, you get close, we ride it. Don't get close, we get close, we ride it. If I ain't in the hood, then I'm OT grinding on the run. At the spot where the cops can't find nobody knows. Where the cops can't find them on the run. At the spot where the cops can't find them. If I ain't in the hood, then I'm OT grinding on the run. At the spot where the cops can't find them. Where the cops can't find them on the run. At the spot where the cops can't find them. Living life as a fugitive if he really wants to hurt with me. Enough people calling me, my old fam dissing me. Love is like a mystery, I ain't got shit to be. I'm on my own, these think they care if I fucking breathe. God bless me, and I ain't even in the mood to sneeze. Mood to squeeze, check that credit out, like the breeze. Do this rap shit with ease, used to block for the peace. First one to duck, blow and shoot when it's time to squeeze. First one to go for OT for the longest in school. Vision over 20 years, then the drop is dead. Bitches looking at tender life and you still living, still cricket. God bless my niggas in that cold fridge, skinny DDS. Don't get close when them grains hit the front page or back streets. My wife is will go get it. Forecast and have me switched up all in 1 second. Forecast and have me switched up all in 1 second. Don't get close, we get close and we ride it. Get close, we get close and we ride it. Don't get close, we get close and we ride it. If I ain't in the hood, then I'm OT grinding on the run. At the spot where the cops can't find nobody knows. Where the cops can't find them on the run. At the spot where the cops can't find them. If I ain't in the hood, then I'm OT grinding on the run. At the spot where the cops can't find them.
Urging residents to do the right thing. Still no update from Peel Police as they search the Credit River for a person reported missing in the water this afternoon near Meadowvale Conservation Area.
Doctors want you to know how dangerous it is to avoid the emergency room because you're afraid of catching COVID-19. Trillium Health Partners reporting ER visits are down by more than half.
I pay my taxes and I pray and I wear a...
NHL players may be getting back on the ice in the next few weeks as a new postseason format could be coming to the NBA if it's back this summer. Sports at 45.
It's one way to social distance in restaurants once they reopen. We'll let you know how a Korean coffee shop has done away with human workers altogether. TSX perks up 161 points to start the new week. Business at 56.
News time, 10:31.
And for traffic and weather together on the ones, hello, Craig Gears.
Hello, Caitlin. And it's a busy night so far on the roads because of construction. We have a couple of other problems too. A stalled vehicle out there. We have a collision that's being cleaned up right now. That's on the southbound 427 at Burnhamthorpe in the express. Left lane's blocked off. And then the construction, Burnhamthorpe down to Bloor. So it's a slightly slow drive as you head down the southbound 427. Tonight we also have the transfer at Burnhamthorpe into the collector is closed off, so just keep that in mind. Westbound Gardner stalled vehicle west to Spadina, right lane's blocked, but it's not seemingly causing any problems. We have construction on the westbound 401, slowdowns from the 418 to west of Curtis Road. Construction in the two left lanes through here. The Nielsen and the Markham ramps to and from the westbound 401 shut down, as well as the westbound 401 ramp to McCowan, west of Young. The express to collector transfer is closed, and the Hurontario ramp is fully closed to the westbound 401 as well. But we're up to speed on the westbound side. It's eastbound 401. Very, very slow from approaching the 404 all the way over to east of Warden in the express. 3 right lanes blocked off. Not a lot of room. You want to be in the collectors through here. Northbound Morningside ramp to the eastbound 401. That's coming in as closed. We also have the Highway 25 and the northbound Allen ramps to the east 401 blocked off for maintenance. Next report at 10:41, and with the forecast, here's Natasha Ramsahigh.
Oh, this woman's crazy.
Skies clearing out tonight. The humidity is holding on. It's going down to 20 degrees that low, but it's going to feel like 25 at the coolest point of the night. And it's another mainly sunny, hot, and humid day tomorrow. 31 degrees with a humidex of 38. Risk of thunderstorms this time, not targeting the west end like they did on Monday, but instead targeting the north into cottage country. Tonight we're down to below 20 degrees.
I said it all fucking day. You see me at all go, hey, no, thunderstorm, no.
23 degrees, 680 news time, 10:33.
Holy fuck, the bitch is right.
A message for those who crowded Trinity Bellwoods Park on Saturday. This is health officials hold off on easing public gathering restrictions.
680's Michelle Mackey has those details.
The first piece of advice from Toronto's top doctor to the thousands of
fucking jacket right now.
2 weeks. It is possible that you may have been exposed to someone who has COVID-19 infection.
Oh, she's saying don't get tested.
Or no symptoms. Over the next 14 days, Dr. Eileen Davila also suggests avoiding contact with vulnerable people. Unlike the Premier's call for mass testing, she says you should get tested if you develop symptoms. But before that, you may be in an incubation period. If the testing is done at the wrong time, you run the risk of actually getting a negative test, and it's just a test that's simply too soon. Meantime, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health was ready to ease public gathering restrictions this week until he saw that massive crowd at Trinity Bellwoods and the increase in case numbers over the past few days.
Why is it so hard for you? These are like college kids and shit. These are the medical students and shit.
34. Mississauga also seeing its fair share of people misbehaving. 680's Phil Martino joins us live with more. Phil.
Caitlin, Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie says for the most part, people have been very compliant in her city.
We saw very few incidents.
They should make apple pie and robbing the bank. Bonnie Crombie
this weekend, and some parking violations. For the most part, our concern is this new trend of people gathering and this gathering at outdoor malls and strip malls and street racing. So my message is, please follow the guidelines for just a few more weeks. We don't want to risk the gains that we have made.
Close to 80 people were ticketed at a street racing gathering in Mississauga over the weekend. The city has seen a jump in COVID-19 cases, 275 in 72 hours. Phil Martino, 680 News.
Painted circles in parks, it could happen. The city exploring that idea. Circles painted on the grass in Toronto parks to encourage physical distancing amid the pandemic. They're known as social distancing circles, and it's gaining significant traction.
The idea of social distancing circles is under active consideration by our staff, as are a host of other matters, and we've asked them to come back with a plan that includes considerations of policing and enforcement. It includes considerations of how you can help people to physically distance themselves in parks and other public spaces.
That's Mayor John Tory Light Large white circles are now in place in parks in at least 2 U.S. cities. At Dolores Park in San Francisco and Domino Park in Brooklyn. In a tweet, the city said the circles painted on grass will be piloted in Trinity Bell Woods, and staff will assess how effective they are.
Ontario's Health Minister Christine Elliott says Mother's Day gatherings likely on the increase of COVID-19 cases.
I know that everyone's very anxious to be able to have more things open, to have restaurants opened and other things opened. People have to make sure they continue that physical distancing. And it's still vitally important for us to be able to move our economy forward and to be able to move things open more socially and with friends and so on.
Elliott had previously said Chief Medical Officer of Health Dr. David Williams was considering expanding the rule about gatherings to more than 5 people, but that was why provincial case numbers looked more promising. On Monday, Ontario reported more than 400 new COVID-19 cases for a 6th straight day.
680 News Time, 10:37. Happening now in Mississauga.
I'm going to kill somebody. I'm going to go to the pool
continues to scour the Credit River after a person was seen going into the water and not resurfacing. Witnesses reported seeing the individual in the river near Old Dairy Road in Mavis just before 4 this afternoon. Police tell 680 News they continue to search from the land, air, and water along with fire crews for the missing person.
Walk away.
There are road closures in the area as efforts are underway to locate them.
Money. I'll wait till he comes back.
680 News Time, 10:37. Toronto and GTA remain under heat warning. In response, the city is opening 6 cooling centers starting at 11 tomorrow morning for anyone needing a place to beat the heat. City of Toronto spokesperson Brad Ross admits it's a little challenging to provide those spaces during a pandemic.
It's a bit complicated this year because we need to make sure that we have those guidelines that are in place to safely operate a cooling center, to manage the physical distancing that is required when we have people so close together.
Ross says strict infection prevention and control measures will be in place at each of the centers. For the locations, go to the City of Toronto's websites.
Premier Doug Ford says the province's testing will be narrowed to some postal codes that are lighting up like a Christmas tree and need greater attention.
Parts of Peel Region, not all Peel Region, so Peel Region, parts of Toronto, not all of Toronto, and then Windsor, Essex area. Those are some.
According to the latest data from the police, Toronto area public health units account for 64.8% of Ontario's cases. Ford says the province plans to launch the next steps of its testing strategy in the coming days.
680 News Time, 10:38. When asked if he would impose a moratorium on commercial evictions during the pandemic, Ford would only say there will be consequences for landlords who do not partake in the Canada Emergency Rent Assistance Program. As the Media City News reports. As the Deputy Ford General
they say everybody's taking 25%.
Premier Doug Ford to impose
except
a
that
moratorium
you're going
on
to lose
commercial
more than
evictions.
25%.
The groups include the Canadian Federation
It's
of
called a
Independent
haircut.
Business, Ontario Chamber of Commerce, and the Retail Council of Canada. The plea prompting Ford to once again take aim at some landlords.
I can assure you, I'm protecting the tenants. Simple. I appreciate the landlords. I appreciate what they're doing. But when someone comes there with a handout, an olive branch, and tell the landlords, here's an olive branch. We're trying to help you get 75% because you won't be getting anything if you kick your tenants out.
The business group say some landlords are not applying for the joint rent relief program that would give them 75% of the total rent, leaving them on the hook for the other 20%.
Oh, that phone line up in my fucking name. What?
But has threatened to take action.
Use my phone.
Ford hasn't said what he would do to come down on landlords and small business owners. Still feel stunned after the CECRA rolls out.
Doctors urging people not to let COVID-19 fears keep them away from the emergency room if they need treatment.
Too many patients who desperately need to get to an emergency room are choosing to stay home, mostly because they're afraid of catching COVID-19 at a hospital, and that has consequences.
So we have seen people have more serious, worse outcomes.
Dr. Eric Latovsky is chief of medicine at the emergency departments at Trillium Health Partners. Visits to their 3 emergency rooms were down by 24% in March when the pandemic really took over, down by 56% by April. And Latovsky says it's not just heart attacks and strokes that are going untreated. He knows of a young man who could have avoided a perforated ulcer had he come to the ER when he needed to. Latovsky says there are also some patients who avoid the emergency room because they just don't want to be a burden.
Anything in your pelvis, holes in your pelvis, you should need to balls in your asshole falling into the challenge.
He wants everyone to know emergency rooms are thoroughly cleaned and disinfected, and they are safe. I'm Mark Douglas.
This is your breaking news station, 680 News.
Now, the 680 News gas price update. Emperor predicting the price will not change at midnight. It will stay at 95.9 cents a liter.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids.
Donate online at carsforkids.ca. That's cars with a K.
Niggas really riding, is your girl really riding? I don't know about the strap. She comes up providing.
Welcome to the Cousin C Show. Now sit your ass the fuck down and shut the fuck up. Get the gas mask, every gas mask.
Wealthy rappers, where you ass at?
You went last week, enjoy the past week. Wealthy rappers, it's everlasting.
Braggadocious, I brag the mostest, cause I spit it hotter than toasters. Check my name out on all the posters. When I hit the stage, drinks hit the coasters. Women packed all the way to the third row. We ain't in the strip club, but call it Perv Row. I don't know what you heard, ho. I'ma tell you straight, baby, I'm a cert pro. Running game like a pimp, bitch. Yeah, I'm running game with a limp, bitch. The big dog gonna teach you some tricks, bitch. Get out there, catch a date, and stack my chips, bitch.
Give me gas mask, give me gas mask. Wealthy rappers, where your ass at? You went last week, enjoy the past week. Wealthy wire music's everlasting.
In the future, track bruisers. Cut the beat in the back of the cruiser. Fuck the gamer, Kama Sutra. In my Red Rover, I will run right through ya. Growl on the mic like a beast should. Go hard on the beat, think Clint Eastwood. You got me your mouth, nigga. Sit your little bitch ass down, nigga.
Raise the skin candy.
I'm gonna tell security guy about this pizza swarm with him.
And the cannon, I'm holding back and I fucking mega. Yaga, the liquor for the shots will make you stagger. To my liquor product, it's like you look my brightness. Real bright, 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 baby, your box. With this empire, it's nothing like process. These are enemy lines, no pride, they can cross it.
So which one? Was you ready? Yeah, just say which one? Yeah, I don't know.
Get your shit matters. Niggas know I'm running through the streets of beef like the hamburger with the burner. No food service. Yes, the MDG reppin'. Yeah, sitting in the vehicle, blind on people. Taking your proud possessions like a reaper. Kneeling with the hammer. Call it Tim Tebow. Holding on the hammer. Call it Home Depot. Everything I'm doing is illegal. Everything I'm doing is illegal. Kneeling with the hammer. Call it Tim Tebow. Holding on the hammer. Call it Home Depot. I'm at the bar ordering a Heineken. Waiting for the scene to fall back. I was commenting. Front of them a double set up. Check me run 9 and 10. MGK and Wild Boy. Nigga, we some wild men. About to get alive again. Rappers like the Irishman. Used to call me Ben Schmidt, but Charlie was a rider man. Niggas try to end me for the money. Call a fireman and put my fucking flamer. Go ahead and try it then. By all means, do you. I'm creeping through the field shot the Zulu. Cruising in the Subaru. Murder gang crew, punch dogs and give them bobos. You lose, tell you what kind of like 2 shoes. Listen, Junior receives to the higher shooters to whack you. Right now, rappers smack you. Don't even attempt, I won't tap back. Really, I don't have to. Slap the kids so hard, I put a wonder, call him Matthew. Subliminal. Murder gang squad in effect. I set it up to win no box. You block to follow my dialect. My number, you ain't die yet. That judge ain't fired. By the end of this chapter, motherfucker buying it. That bitch loads hinges and a couple sweaty fries in it. Catch a couple pieces, but I'll beat him if I'm hiding it. In the L spot, nigga, known for the kill shot. Cause I'm the nigga that shot Jack and chill out the hilltop. Lil Red Rider Hood was Rider Hood. The song blew her up now. She ain't riding through the hood. And Woody Woodpecker was a fag while Batman got chest and panties up for his pants. Spidey was a swinger. Wolverine is a nigga that's obvious, so they ain't gotta mention that splinter. Well, I master shredder in my mouth, my deck roll blast for cheddar. Trying to make out is better. Yeah, sitting in the vehicle, plotting on people, taking your proud possession like a reaper. Kneeling with the hammer, call it Tim Tebow. Holding on the hammer, call it Home Depot. Everything I'm doing is illegal. Everything I'm doing is illegal. Kneeling with the hammer, call it Tim Tebow. Holding on the hammer, call it Home Depot.
Oh, they said so much stupid shit about the dog to refute. Yeah. I'm trying to pull this bastard here. What the fuck did you just say? Fuck.
Check, 1, 2. City natives in the building. You know, a mic check 1, 2. Alright, let's get it. Yeah. Just play the drums and sample. I hop on the track, don't they kill the stage at every province that I'm at in. Don't you dare say my name, I'm probably gonna snap in. Leave your dad pissed like when your mommy's on the rag. I'm a zombie on the beat, walking with a swag, yelling louder than my team. Yo, we got this in the bag like the bomb is sweet as smoke. I promise that it's dope, but if you take a hit, then you're probably gonna choke. Yo, I'm up and I never pass to get a better blast. So tell beats and beats not that they better match. Nah, I'm drinking, getting tipsy, and I don't even drink, but watch me get turned like the whole weekend straight. Got so much knowledge, but I won't teach it. So don't give me your advice, cause I don't need it. Got that money in the bank, I'm about mine. Keep my fam close, it's a cold world outside. I had to get some bad habits that I once had, with the mind of fanatic, the rapping where the blood's at. Smoking till my lungs hurt, high swear real low. It'll stimulate your mind, but I think you know it though. Diabolical style, symbolical child, the product of my environment. The future is now, surrounded by the realest south. Y'all know what we all about. Getting money, making these moves, I'm on the right route. Demonstrate, let me demonstrate how I murder it. My brain is great since the last that you ain't heard of it. I never tell you mine for 11. You know the shit you know. I take my thoughts to another level. Demolition wild with a rebellious style. I say it loud, word of my homie boys. I'm just an ill child. The enemy is the epitome of realness. I know you feel this. I'm just a boy beats.
When it comes to rapping, I'm a motherfucking mastermind. Pack a mask and knife. Time to put these pussy rappers in the afterlife. I get the spasm when I grab the mic. It's the rapping savage Antichrist. The best rapper alive. The best rapper even after I die. From drinking and driving, hanging out in the passenger side. Well, bitches give me ass. I get the pressure my ride. My flow is nutty. I'm cold and hungry. My body is phony. Nose is runny. I'm broken, bony. You're gone. Get it with no sweater or coat. In cold weather, I'm dope. My flow's better than most. I'm so better for both. Let up the go and get my rhythm. You know better than the phone. So veteran, bro. More focused than I've ever been yours. Better be known. I got the medicine to render than your head in the room. I show no love. It's the funk soul brother. Got the flow so good. I fucking roll snow brother. Kill a newborn baby with a stone cold stunner. Time for war. Tonight we down in hell, grab a knife and fork. Never would have thought that if I touch a whore. Down the spinal cord, jump up and try to chuck a tiny corpses on the floor. That they would find it, now I gotta find a ride to the other side of the border. My mind has been out of order since I was not a resorted to doing crime with my homies. Ever since the day decided to show me. Yo, what's happening? I'm back again. This rapping shit is simple. Grab a pen and pen, a pencil. Rap about the shit you've been through. Get the snapping on an instrumental. Just imagine when you're platinum, all the cash it gets you. It's the last official savage on this planet that can spit the baddest damage. Slap you if you have an issue. Cast the casket past the pistol. Ambulance will have to get you. Promise I'm unstoppable. Flawless. Sock a hippopotamus in the balls with an ostrich. On top of your mom with a soft dick. Not enough from other oxys in the lighters in my pocket. I'm driving kicks in the job. Talking the wrong shit, why with the bar, bitch? Rocking some long johns and sawed off a cockpit. Ready to pop it off with your mom's kids, pops, bitch. Dogs, cousins, aunt, sis. If your uncle wanna rumble, put a couple in his cranium. All I'm saying is I'm trouble and I play to win. Ain't no way that you can take away the rage of me. So much anger, I'm impatient, going crazy then. I tell myself to stay in my lane and play the game. I'm breaking in and taking everything. And I ain't taking shit. I'm waiting for my Mercedes, 180 acres of blood with a slut that made it a mutt, but I'm underrated, you motherfuckers. Better run or I'm running over.
Plantation baby.
You fuck me on the make
Everybody makes me severe. Just turn into cotton. Oh, everybody outside is. I see how it works. I was supposed to stay on this stick. Reservation. Stay.
Yeah. You bitch made niggas. What's wrong with you? You bitch made niggas. Try to tell you about me.
I'm gonna stay. Can't stay on this stick. Can't stay on this stick.
Yeah. You bitch made niggas. Yeah. What's wrong with you? You bitch made niggas. Try to tell you about me. I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas. No gun. Then I probably got a switchblade nigga. As days go by, you see a man change nigga. Point him out. Let it go. Cause he ain't the same nigga. Yo, me. I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas. No gun. Then I probably have a switchblade nigga. As days go by, you see a man change nigga. Point him out. Let him go. Cause he ain't the same nigga.
My niggas in the box like it's cardboard. Incarcerated Scarface thugs getting poked on the yard floor. Inside or out of Minnesota, but mob lord. Dressing all black like Darth Vader from Star Wars. I'm flipping up. 32 in the clipping up. Pop shit, my outlaws with me. It's time to hit them up. They bitch made. Shit hit the fan and had them switching up. A bar broken out of place without a way to fix it up. A dead issue. Once official, now you miss deep. Changing up when it gets deep. You fucking goof. Catch him back, I'm down first, then you clutch and shoot. Treated like the wire and fire. This nigga fucking Snoop. What? They got me on my Jeezy low with a G-lock. Plus a trade douche bang out till they free ox. And anyone else trapped in an ice box. Peace to my night hot survivor.
Try to tell you about me. I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas. No gun. Then I probably got a switchblade nigga. As the days go by, you see a man change nigga. Point him out. Let him go. Cause he ain't the same nigga. Yo, me. I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas. No gun. Then I probably have a switchblade nigga. As the days go by, you see a man change nigga. Point him out. Let him go. Cause he ain't the same nigga.
I'm putting bitch niggas out. It's your choice to listen. It don't make it real because his chains glisten. I don't speak much, I'm known to observe. Fuck niggas getting burned in the third. I kicked to the curb to expose these fakes. I feel obligated. Same pussies calling niggas out. Got my house raided over jealousy and envy. Now I don't trust friends. They try to stop my dreams. Don't want to see me in the bed. They never do. They want to stay in their lane. Trying to be what you not, boy, it's a shame. Just for a name, these niggas change on the regular. Only thing I trust is this Glock or this heckler. So hey, I expect from you. Since bitchness, I cut you off, homie. Rather ride lonely and see you running hard on me. No niggas that be causing homicides only. Cause they can't take the chance of winning.
Try to tell you about me. I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas. No gun. Then I probably got a switchblade nigga. As the days go by, you see a man change nigga. Point him out. Let him go. Cause he ain't the same nigga. Yo, me. I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas. No gun. Then I probably have a switchblade nigga. As the days go by, you see a man change nigga. Point him out. Let him go. Cause he ain't the same nigga.
I'm surprised. Venice is like, oh, this is shit. Why Venice? Why not the Netherlands? I mean, it is too, but like, oh, Venice, look, this city is in water and it's sinking and all this. It's like, this is fucked up. Why the one that's sinking in water do you think is to associate with that? Netherlands, nothing sinking, it's all just good old water. The ocean. I don't think so. What the fuck? Don't buy your seeds from Amsterdam. Buy your wheat, not your seeds from Amsterdam. What's wrong with you? You pick your seeds in the backwoods of Ontario.
In the water, police say they were unable to resuscitate the person, and the incident is not criminal in nature. 680 News Time, 10:55. At Sleep Country, we're real sleep experts, and we're available online or by phone to help you find your best sleep. Because whatever your sleep needs, we're here to listen. Whether you want a hard mattress and your husband likes a soft one, your daughter's back from school and all of a sudden she needs a bedroom, or you need a mattress with more back support, let a real sleep expert match you to a better sleep. Some stores are now open. Visit us online to find a store near you. Sleep well, stay well. Sleep Country.
diligence.
Adjournment.
Constructive
touches electronics and look at the last
A lot of people expect a meeting with a lawyer to sound something like that. But at Rudner Law, our team will provide the clear, practical advice that you need. My name is Stuart Rudner, and right now, the employment relationship is more complicated than ever. Whether you are an employer or an employee, we will help protect your rights.
HR lawyers, employment lawyers, workplace lawyers, whatever you call them, you'll be glad you did. RudnerLaw.ca.
680 News Time, 10:56.
Now time for your business report. Here is Richard Severn.
Good evening. Canada's biggest banks will open up their books this week and reveal just exactly how big a financial toll the COVID-19 pandemic has taken. Starting tomorrow, we're going to get results in from Bank of Nova Scotia and National Bank. The Big Six will all report this week. To avoid default, the banks have allowed more than 700,000 Canadians to skip or defer mortgage payments since March. Anthony Akoli with TD Bank says it's going to weigh on the bottom line.
Profits could decline as much as 36% due to the fallout from the coronavirus crisis, as banks set aside a lot of money for salary loans in the second quarter. And, the jump in provisions could be 2 to 4 times higher year over year. And I think the key question is how much, these loan loss provisions remain elevated and the impact of the share prices going forward.
Scotia shares, though, were higher today, up 1 3/4%, $51.99. National Bank, which reports tomorrow, saw its stock up 3% today, $54.02. And the broader Toronto market was higher. TSX up 161 points, or 1%, to 15,075.
Just walk in and
doing
rob
so
the
without the
National
usual
Bank.
influence
Yeah,
of
I'm
Wall
just
Street. And New York markets closed for the Memorial Day holiday. Oil is on track for, believe it or not, its best
They just go along with it.
ever.
They just go along. What are they going to do?
Crude oil plunged
They
to
fucking spit on me.
30-some bucks.
Yeah, they'll let
for
you
the
walk
first
off the
time
bags,
ever.
man. I'm robbing the
But
bank
since
today.
then,
This
it's
is
gone
the
straight
Prime
up.
Minister.
Price of oil higher by more than 70% in the month of May. It's posted 4 straight weeks of gains, although some traders warn that the outlook remains uncertain, that perhaps oil could get back into the $20 range. Right now, it's at $33.72 per barrel. The price for gold is at $1,726 US the ounce, and the Canadian dollar up at 71.45 cents US.
That's
This is
not
680 News.
possible, eh? You can't pay me to take away your product every day. That's all that up.
During the pandemic, people with heart conditions or stroke are suffering at home, too afraid to seek help, risking irreversible harm and causing complications not seen for decades. Hospitals have taken extra precautions to treat patients safely. Call 911 if you or someone you know is experiencing signs of heart attack, stroke, or cardiac arrest. Do not let COVID-19 destroy more lives. Learn more at titlestrike.ca.
During the pandemic, obtaining authentic personal protective equipment can be a serious challenge. Protect yourself, your employees, and customers with PPE from SteriPro.ca. SteriPro.ca is proudly Canadian-owned and operated and offers masks, gloves, face shields, and more for you and your business needs. With stock available now, it's never been easier to protect your business. Order today, ship today. Visit SteriPro.ca. That's SteriPro.ca.
Upper Orange will also 24 degrees, partly cloudy. Milton 26 degrees, partly cloudy. 23 degrees and partly cloudy.
Promises, no family ties. Beating court cases surround me like a gang of flies. I seen it come to keep it moving, only fantasize about my equal to bring your money to answer why. I need these big notes in millions. And pauses for my many mates. To lay up in the B and C, this D up in between my thighs. I fantasize about these angry guys. Killing fans, they never knew I wanna murder guys. You an accident murderer, you wanna earn your prize. Coming up off niggas who all these hammers fly. I came up off the noodles. The hustle game was crucial. You dubbing, then they shoot you. Understand my whys? I can still be on my hammer shit. No, but the MC in me burning like this cannabis. I'm paramount on ad list. Pick the flash you with the Sorrento. It's the only thing that's switching up. The game chill like menthol. The way you kept up. Up there broke it, came up with lost that and still coke. You niggas joking, still broke. Free my niggas in and out. About to hit the books, I'm the accountant. Tunnel vision, reverses all them crooks, I am surrounded. Pretty like the pound it. My wife walking louder than this gang of it. Ain't none of you has been a threat. I'll show you how this 30 get. That's my age guard, it's still the next planet for the president. These pussies on the internet. So flashing on my game, they rap. I never knew about Snoopy and Connect. I was the first female to rap no rappers rap. You twisted cause I cut the dress. The principle of older heads. You surely about this bread though. When I was talking about my kinfolk, them years ended zero. That's deuces on the decade. You jump on so still fake. I'm coming through the fucking up like Luke Cage. I'm wavy like the loose spray. Still on point. I'm playing in the loose cage.
They're ex-cop cars anyway. Other radios.
Sex, money, and murders, what I fantasize.
Oh, this is serious. Fucking
sex, money, and murders, what I fantasize.
Get outside of causing difficulty for anybody.
Sex, money, and murders, what I fantasize. When y'all were getting shot up, I was getting my mind. I'm still getting caught when the messenger riding. Sex, drugs, and money for money. You coming from me, I'm fucking gully. You still living, then you was lucky. You a public figure, trying your best. In this fight, we fight to the death. You bitches lost your sight and your breath. Taking your senses for granted. We came up here in Maryland, Manson. You and your homie gonna be sharing your casket. We carried it ratchet and sending you a burial package. It's very relaxing. The way we taking care of the faggots get carried in plastic and don't preliminary advantage. My mom used to say I'm always taking advantage. Nah, it's really I ain't taking the fat shit. Like these are kind of people that reporting the flat shit. And I'ma work float like a stay in a damn shit. So I defend this bitch, I be strapped like Stan Smith. And boy, that ain't no reference. I love the glitzy 1911, my preference. Get you fired from your job with a severance. I kill the biggest spirit like the Revenant. Don't wear your fur bit so everybody shares it. Fuck around with Charlie, bro, I'm getting on some murder shit. Big gun, then you know I'm gonna defend the turf with it. You bubble like a stripper on the floor when I'm working it. Shake up your vehicle like it's turbulence. My A-rap keep explosives where it's turbulence. You feel the cold or turn the heat on it, courteous. My treaty niggas put the poison in your curry dish. Mr. Obia, Mr. Pot, burnt heads and okra. Boy, I'll get you soaked up. Tie 'em up and roped up. Chain look like gold dust. Whistle on, you know us. Vest on and still get your throat cut. Sex, money, and murder is what I fantasize. Sex, money, and murder is what I fantasize.
It's the 680 News and
The city's top doctor is advising the thousands of parkgoers to self-monitor for 2 weeks, just hours after coronavirus testing. Dr. Eileen Davila recommends getting tested only if you develop symptoms. Otherwise, it may be too soon in the incubation period for a test to pick up the virus.
There's an incubation period, so a period of time between when somebody might have been exposed
I'm negative. No, you're
to
not.
COVID-19 before they actually then start to develop a response.
In the wake of the Trinity Bellwoods gathering, along with rising COVID-19 cases in the province, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health says he is pressing pause on easing public gathering restrictions. Instead, the 5-person limit remains in effect. City officials estimate 10,000 people were at Trinity Bellwoods on Saturday. I'm Michelle Mackey.
680 News Time, 11:04. Toronto wasn't the only city seeing some bad behavior over the weekend. 680's Phil Martino tells us there was plenty of it in Mississauga as well. Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie says, for the most part, people have been very compliant in her city.
We saw very few incidents other than 4 house parties / pool parties this weekend and some parking violations. For the most part, our concern is this new trend of people gathering at outdoor malls and strip malls and street racing. So my message is, please follow the guidelines for just a few more weeks. We don't want to risk the gains that we have made.
Close to 80 people were ticketed at a street racing gathering in Mississauga over the weekend. The city has seen a jump in COVID-19 cases, 275 in 72 hours. I'm Phil Martino.
Well, meantime, they're growing in popularity in the U.S., and now Mayor John Tory says the city is considering painted circles in Toronto's parks to help with physical distancing. Tory making the comments at a news conference following the large crowds at Trinity Bellwoods on the weekend.
We will have a report from our officials from all different aspects of the city on how we can make things better and be better in a position to deal with things like this if they come up going forward in the nice weather and generally.
Dolores Park in San Francisco and Domino Park in Brooklyn both have the large white distancing circles that have proved both popular and functional. The city says painted circles will be piloted at Trinity Bellwoods, and if deemed a success, officials could be adding circles in other parks as the pandemic continues. In the meantime, the city says if residents arrive at a park that is crowded, you should go to another park.
Premier Doug Ford urging anyone and everyone to go out and get tested for COVID-19, but how do you do that? First, you can find one of 12 centers in hospitals and clinics right across the city at toronto.ca/COVID-19. Tina Abstani of City News went through the process.
No need to book an appointment in advance. Walk-ins are welcome during regular work hours. I lined up at 1:30 and was inside just 15 minutes later. As you enter, you're asked to sanitize your hands and you're provided with a face mask. First, you're asked for basic information, your health card and driver's license if you have one. You're provided a sticker to wear, and then you wait in a second line inside before speaking with a nurse. The nurse will go through a list of symptoms you might possibly be experiencing and goes through what's expected of you if you do test positive and are required to self-isolate. After that, it's time for the nose swab. I was nervous about getting it. I've heard about just how uncomfortable it can be. Here I am just moments after getting the test. Oh, so bad. It was so bad. It was painful because the swab does go deep, and for me specifically, it was in for at least 20 seconds as the nurse tried to find the right spot. That was the entire process. All of it took less than an hour. For City News, I'm Tina Anstani.
Despite the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, doctors are reminding you if you need to go to the ER for a non-COVID-19 related issue, you should. 680's Mark Douglas tells us not getting checked out could lead to even bigger health problems.
Too many people getting far too sick because they're too afraid to go to an emergency room, mostly because they're worried about catching COVID-19.
Things like heart attack and stroke, very time-sensitive conditions.
Dr. Eric Latofsky is chief of medicine for the 3 emergency departments run by Trillium Health Partners. He says putting off urgent medical needs makes them so much worse.
A young man with abdominal pain just put it off. And by the time he presented, he had a perforated pelvic ulcer.
Visits to Trillium's emergency departments were seeing a slight increase at the start of 2020 compared to the year before. But when the pandemic really hit in March, those visits plummeted by up to 37%. By April, they were down by more than half. Latofsky reminds everyone that ERs are clean and safe. I'm Mark Douglas.
680 News Time, 11:08. With Toronto and the GTA still under a heat warning, the city is opening 6 cooling centers in response for anyone who needs a place to get relief from the heat. However, City of Toronto spokesperson Brad Ross tells 680 News that it's been a complicated process given the pandemic, saying strict infection prevention and control measures will be in place at each of the centers.
We've had to adapt the network for the time being, at least because of COVID-19, and so we want to be able to ensure that we can maintain physical distancing. So there are 6 city locations that will be open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. starting tomorrow and into Wednesday.
Cooling center locations include Wallace Emerson Community Center, Regent Park Community Center, Malvern Community Center Arena, and Scarborough Village Community Center Arena.
Toronto City Council will be asked at its meeting on Thursday to approve the rapid installation of new bike lanes as part of its pandemic response.
The city's sped-up cycling network expansion includes extending the Bloor bike lanes to Runnymede and adding new lanes through Hospital Row along University Avenue. Mayor John Tory says bikes bring business.
More business for shop owners. It's going to mean that we're going to take some of the pressure off our transit system and protect the health of the city.
The mayor's office has put together a video testimonial with nearly a dozen city councilors, including
This time we don't hit you off an Hospital Row. All you do is you don't, because we know. We're all we know.
Mike Clayton is on University Avenue.
Called it Queen's Park, straight down to about
25 kilometers of new bikeways. Some would run parallel to TTC subway routes to give people an alternative to taking transit during the pandemic. I'm Charlene Close.
This is
hospital. And this is the 680 News gas price update. And predicting price of gas not going to budge at midnight, only 95.9 cents a liter. At most GTA stations, coming up traffic and weather together on the ones. 680 News time, 11:10.
I'm here with Bill Coy of Coy Brothers, and we're talking about PDI, not PDA.
I know what PDI is. Why wouldn't they do subways right now?
Then I'll take a rain check on our fizz pump. Tell me more about PDI.
When you buy a piece of equipment online and pick it up in store, we assemble it and give it a PDI. That's a pre-delivery inspection. Plus, we'll show you how to use it at no extra cost.
You do care, Bill, you old softy.
Oh, yeah, that describes me.
Experience the dealer difference at your #1 equipment dealer, Coy Brothers.
KOOYBROS.com.
PDI, you're charging PDI?
680 News time, 11:11. Traffic and weather.
Money get murder is what I fantasize. Sex, money, and murder is what I fantasize.
Hey, my apartment number is not on these pizza boxes. I'll just throw them. Oh, just throw them. Oh, somebody cleans that up. Yeah. No, probably made it. Right? Oh, you shouldn't say that. They don't like that. Right. You shouldn't say that. Right.
Yeah, we rip for the street niggas, man. Voice of the streets, the black.
The whole city fucking gets mad.
Twin hammers look like the Siamese. I got that beam from the Japanese. My French girl waving a reminder me of mac and cheese. It is what it has to be. I'm killing out who's after me. They have to see we're rich, and I swear it wasn't financially. Like who we frontin' for? They flying like this a trampoline. These bitches couldn't marry a guy. It was a Magdalene. I shot like a little bro with tag-along. It's these instrumentals we got with bragging on. It's rose with beer brook classic riches with Dragamon. The nigga with the gate and Sega with double dragon on. The Megatron landing in Lebanon. He was slapping that back and forth with a tether ball. Used to live on French Street, right in the Esplanade. Bitches run the ship and make the film like espionage. You know that's what it's set for. Like why you niggas say protect your network? Chopping in shit to be wet. Like a net or the cylinder, I was spin. I connect for it right into your tongue when I get it out of chest to drawer rapper. When you go on tour, it's all music. Maybe when we go on tour, it's all shootings. Like other chefs got kicked, I gotta shoot it. Nigga, if you talk that talk, you gotta do it. Why they try me? I wear my heart on my iron sleeve. I'm the last with down bread. Why they try me? I wear my heart on my iron sleeve. I'm the last with down bread. Like he just wanna go on tour and make music. But every time you go on tours, it's all shootings. Yeah, I'm the last of the dying breed. I uppercut these fucks in the chin and they die with ease. I bleed what I have to bleed. This blood's what I have to see. Fuck big, go sit with your fam. I call it Applebee's. Who the fuck trying to get stuck? Tell them ask for me. That match pack about to get struck. I brought the gasoline. I've never lost. I got OGs to get it back for me. Calm me down, calm with a crown. Call me your majesty, God. They try to handle me, love. No, I don't play that. The bullets in that gray Mac A-track. They go way back. I buy them up. Top your mom. The way to safe that. Put numbers on your head. You already covered in face tats, boy. Why they always trying to snake that, boy? Charlie got the defibrillator to shake that, boy. Forget about it. You turn me to Rocky ASAP, boy. I'm the last of a dying breed that wanna break that, boy. Like, you're bringing all that beat to the farm. My man's braided you. If you don't get respect in the streets, I can't stand with you. They tell you you a threat on the beat. Your man's scamming you. The Benz is like a beast when it spins. Crash Bandicoot. Pull up with a camera crew. Cannons in your face now. Anybody that's lying to us is lying face down. White boy, nice with a pen. This ain't no 8 Mile. We playing hopscotch in the spots where the body's traced out. Cause when you go on tour, it's all music. And baby, when we go on tour, it's just shootings. Drive-bys, your
eyes wide shut, we gone Kubrick. She ain't really got all that talk, we just do shit. Everybody try me, I wear my heart on my iron sleeve. I'm the last of the down bridge. Everybody try me, I wear my heart on my iron sleeve. I'm the last of the down bridge. Like he just wanna go on tour and make music. The last of a down bridge. And every time you go on tours, it's all shootings. I'm the last of a down bridge. Nothing on my wrist, nothing on my neck, nothing on my fist, it's all on my check. Don't you get the gist? I got the confidence, don't need a brand on my chest. Hey, I know what my value is. Hey, wealthy people don't need jewelry. Hey, look at 21 Savage and Bill Gates. Hey, rap industry got a complex. I turn reality into a lucid dream. I turn the lucid dream into whipped cream. Cash rules, nothing around me. I only use it for paper planes, actually. I'm the opposite of Microsoft, I'm big and hard. Let that resonate, maybe a little more. I got that lyricism sprinkled with a lot of flow. I made my sauce authentic on a chopping board. Maybe it's spicy, be careful. Don't shake the bottle too much, be gentle. It's kinda high on the Scoville level. Don't burn your tongue, don't get it in your eyes too. I turn reality into a lucid dream. I turn the lucid dream into whipped cream. Cash rules, nothing around me. I only use it for paper planes, actually. Self-care, yeah, I got a lot of that. No, it tastes good as having a six pack. You should cut your snacks, so you cut that crack. Then you gonna look fast as a Cadillac. Baby, looking like a snack. I can see you dipping spots on the spot rack. I don't need a beat, I don't really need a track. You can be my producer, but you will be glad. I turn reality into a lucid dream. I turn the lucid dream into whipped cream. Cash rules.
Who are serving eviction notices to their commercial tenants instead of applying for government assistance.
We put close to, with the federal government, we put close to $1 billion program in that we're asking for 25% off them. And
I don't think you understand. You deal with some people. With the offer you sell out of water.
And they need to
the
start signing up for
brain
this.
explodes.
Because they're going to like the consequences if they don't sign up for it.
No word on what those
well, like here, have peanut butter
consequences will
sandwich.
be.
I'm
Under the
allergic.
program,
Oh,
landlord
I'm
would have to forfeit 25% of the rent. Applications opened
$50 billion,
today.
whatever, 400. Let's say
The
400.
province appointing 2 hospitals to take over management of 2 nursing homes in the GTA that have been struggling with containing COVID-19. Upper River Hospital will manage Downsville Long-Term Care Center, where there have been at least 52 deaths. South Lake will be overseeing River Glen Haven Nursing Home in Sutton, where there has been at least 20 deaths. The Ministry of Health said the 2 facilities have been receiving help from the hospitals for weeks, but haven't been able to get the situation under control. The
I know, the money goes
90 days,
borrowed
but
out
can
of
be
nowhere. I
extended
know,
if
but
necessary.
it's
The
still.
World Health Organization
If we're all
temporarily
playing the
dropping
same game with the
anti-malarial
same
drug
points,
U.S.
what the
President
fuck's
Donald
wrong
Trump
with you?
said he was
Take the
taking
money.
from a global study into
I'd rather
experimental
kick this guy out.
COVID-19
Get more
treatments.
than trust
Last
somebody
week, the
else.
president
Cool.
said he is taking
I'll sign the lease.
hydroxychloroquine.
Fine.
A lot of people are taking it. A lot of doctors are taking it. A lot of people swear by it.
That's not my
It's
background,
got
bro.
a bad reputation only because I'm promoting it.
The president also said he did not test positive for the coronavirus. The WHO says experts want to take a break and review all the evidence. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus pointed to a report in the medical journal The Lancet.
My patients receiving the drug when used alone or with a
I'll be in jail. You'll be in the hospital. My boys
They estimated a higher mortality rate, a higher risk of death, and heart problems. Other coronavirus treatments are still being tested. I'm Ed Donahue.
A British rock guitarist and personal hero of mine revealing some recent health struggles. It's been a painful few weeks for Queen guitarist Brian May, who says it started with a compressed sciatic nerve.
That's why I had this feeling that someone was putting a screwdriver in my back.
And then while dealing with that, he revealed in a video on Instagram.
Same thing I felt this morning, but yeah, it's a pretty
doctors were looking into that. They noticed
the thing where I try to relax the muscles.
You have to have 3 stents put in rather than a triple bypass. And now,
I'm good. I'm here. And I'm ready to rock.
May says he eats right, exercises, so his message to anyone over 60 is get your heart checked, because you never know. Jason Ingles and ABC
News. 50% faster. Real close to 60.
680 News Time, 11:21.
Time for traffic and weather together. Welcome over to the traffic center. Here is Craig Gear.
This report is brought to you by 407 ETR. So we are seeing heavy delays. It's all because of construction tonight. So let's start with the
Nothing around me. I used to use it for paper planes.
Locked off through the construction west of Curtis Road. So it's slow getting through this stretch here. It's not too bad though. So that's the good news if you are coming through this stretch of maintenance. We have the Nielsen ramps to the West 401 closed, the Markham Road ramps to and from the highway blocked off, and the westbound 401 ramp to McCowan, that's been shut down. We have the Southbound Island, northbound Dufferin ramps to the West 401 also blocked off, and then very slow from Dixon, Martin Grove all the way through to the 427. Once you do approach the 427, 3 left lanes blocked off, not a lot of room to get by, squeezing down to a single lane as you round the bend through the 427. It's a heavy one. Here, Ontario ramps to the West 401 shut down tonight, and the westbound 401 ramp to Highway 25 also closed. The 25 ramps to and from the eastbound 401 also blocked. No access to the eastbound 401 from northbound Allen. And then very slow from approaching the 404 all the way through to east of Warden in the Express. 3 right lanes closed. Not a lot of room here as well. So you want to be in the collectors going through this stretch to give yourself a break from a headache. The ramp to Meadowvale off the East 401, that's also blocked off. Southbound 404 ramp to the eastbound 401 also shut down. And the northbound 427 ramp to Highway 7, that's closed off. 407 ETR is proud to be United Way's first corporate partner in Canada to make a multi-year investment, sending $4 million to help the GTHA recover from COVID-19.
What are they going to do?
Your next report is at 11:31, and with the forecast here, it's not temperature is high.
20 degrees overnight tonight, and we're back to that sunshine tomorrow. 31, Humidex 38. The breeze off the lake combined with the heat, the humidity, likely going to trigger more storms this time to the north end of the GTA up through Cottage Country. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies. We've got a high of 31, still feeling like 37. Thursday, risk of storms returns through the afternoon to the north with a high of 30. And then Friday, still muggy to begin. 27 degrees, Humidex 34. We've got rain, we've got storms, we've got a cold front, and that's what's going to drop the heat humidity by Friday night. By Saturday and Sunday, a much fresher feel to the weekend. Tonight, we're down to a low 20 degrees. Right now in downtown Toronto, 21 degrees and partly cloudy at Pearson. It is 24. 680 News Time, 11:23.
Police confirm a male victim who went into the Credit River in Mississauga this afternoon and did not resurface. Was pulled from the water, but paramedics were not able to resuscitate him. They're not treating it as suspicious. We'll have the details for you straight ahead.
There's the 680 News. Your home is more than just a place to live. It's your window of opportunity. With a home equity loan from Capital Direct, your home can provide valuable equities that will give you the freedom to complete those renovations, support your business, or simply get your debt in line. An easy call to 1-800-NEW-CAPITAL will open the doors to all the good things you thought were beyond your reach as a homeowner. So pick up the phone and call 1-800-NEW-CAPITAL today. CapitalDirect.ca.
News
is always changing.
now more than ever.
Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day.
This is 680 News.
Ask to play us on your smart speaker.
It was a moment sports fans here in this city are going to remember for a long time. A year ago today, the Toronto Raptors finished off the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, rallying to eliminate the NBA's best regular season team. It was the first time in franchise history that the Raptors had won the Eastern Conference title, and just the 6th time a team had ever come back from a 2-0 deficit in the conference finals. And, of course, the Raptors would eventually go on to win their first ever NBA title. You know what that means? Soon we're going to be celebrating the 1-year anniversary of that. We'll keep you posted. A section of Bathurst downtown fully closed to traffic today, and so crews could do some maintenance work on the bridge and TTC tracks. Only one sidewalk will be staying open from Front Street to Fort York Boulevard for
East and West side.
Coming up in 60
The one
seconds,
piece of information you use, one sidewalk.
remotely from the business center.
Disappointing us is right now. I swear to God.
First and
They didn't
best.
tell me if it's East and West side. Guaranteed.
On 680 News.
If you've got conference calls scheduled
I'm
between
going to
serving
work.
lunch,
You know what
teaching,
side
and
of the
working
sidewalks
out,
open
we
and
get it.
bathroom?
We
No,
can't help with
motherfuckers
everything,
didn't tell
but
me.
we
I
can make sure your
guarantee.
family is
He
protected.
doesn't talk about
RBC
that.
Insurance is here to help you get it. Book an insurance check-in at rbcinsurance.com/check-in.
Hi, I'm Laura Pedoni, Quality
You
Control Manager
sidewalk
at
on the
Monte
west side,
Carlo
there's a switch back and
On Monte
forth,
Carlo
like
Inns,
exactly like
we know
just
it's
tell
not
me.
business
Yeah,
as
I'll
usual.
want someplace.
In these unprecedented
Tell
times,
me. Damn
we're
it.
here for you.
You can tell me 2
Keeping you
days in
office away
advance
from
exactly
home, or
when.
just a comfortable night's sleep.
Yeah,
We're
bullshit.
taking additional measures to ensure your health and safety. By doing so, we will do our best to make Monte Carlo Inns your home away from home.
Well,
Visit
boy,
MonteCarloInns.com
thunderstorms if we had to.
for
The
more
sun was
information.
we're going to have thunderstorms and we're not going to have
This
thunderstorms.
is your breaking news station. 680 News.
680 Town 1126.
Oh, we don't know how to predict the weather here. We got these people environment Canada. We got silly lights on the radio instead of
biggest
go up
banks
for
will
that.
open up their
Flash
books
certain
this
colors.
week and reveal just
It's
exactly
sky don't
how
open,
big
it
a
closed
financial
today.
toll the
We're not
COVID-19
gonna open,
pandemic
it's
has
gonna be
taken.
bad rain, but
Starting tomorrow, we're going to
they're
get
gonna keep
results
it
in from
closed.
Bank of Nova Scotia
Like
and
they have
National
some
Bank.
sort of
The Big Six
special
will
line
all
of
report
government
this week.
change
To
the
avoid
weather.
default, the banks have
They don't
allowed
wanna
more than
close the road once they
700,000
open it.
Canadians to skip
No
or defer
problem.
mortgage payments since March. Anthony Acoli with TD Bank says it's going to weigh on the bottom line.
Profits could decline as much as 36% due to the fallout from the coronavirus crisis, as banks set aside a lot of money for salary loans in the second quarter. And, the jump in provisions could be 2 to 4 times higher year over year. And I think the key question is how much, these loan loss provisions remain elevated and the impact on share prices going forward.
Scotia shares, though, were higher today, up 1 3/4%, $51.99. National Bank, which reports tomorrow, saw its stock up 3% today, $54.02. And the broader Toronto market was higher. TSX up 161 points, or 1%, to 15,075. Doing so without the usual influence of Wall Street. New York markets closed for the Memorial Day holiday. Oil is on track for, believe it or not, its best month ever. In April, crude oil plunged to negative 30-some bucks for the first
Does
time
not
ever.
make it the
But
best.
since then, it's gone straight up. Price of oil higher by more than 70% in the month of May. It's posted 4 straight weeks of gains, although some traders warn that the outlook remains uncertain, that perhaps oil could get back into the
It's
$20
still only
range.
30 bucks
Right now
from where it
it's
was.
$33.72 per barrel. The price for gold is at 1,726 US dollars the ounce, and the Canadian dollar up at 71.45 cents US. This is 680 News.
Your roof sprung a leak. Water came through, shorted out the furnace, the radiator too.
When emergencies happen, get a loan that's way cheaper than a payday loan with approval in minutes.
If you need money in a hurry, PrudentFinancial.net.
Whether you want to consolidate bills, emergency repairs, it's up to you. Get approval in minutes. When you own your car or home, get a loan. Borrow up to $50,000. Money when you need it most from Prudent Financial. Click for details today.
PrudentFinancial.net.
Insurance companies aren't fooled by television actors pretend to be tough lawyers or law firms that claim to be the best, only to sell your case to others. At Business Prayer, we build our reputation among peers and in the courtroom where it matters. We offer compassionate and dignified legal representation of accident victims. Our experienced lawyers will handle your case personally and see that you get the compensation you deserve. And our no-fee guarantee means that you don't pay until your case is settled. McManus Pereira Personal Injury Lawyers, time-tested, trial-proven. Visit us at bplawyers.ca.
Weather forecast you can bank on, because if we're off by more than 3 degrees,
You could win our growing cash jackpot. The 680 News weather guarantee. Enter online at 680news.com.
Right now in downtown Toronto, partly cloudy and 22 degrees over at Pearson Airport. We've got partly cloudy sky at 24. This is CFTR 680 News at 11:30.
Number 1 for you. news in Toronto. This is 680 News.
Here are Scott Burnett
That's
and Lee.
Yeah, it doesn't stand for Canadian Forces.
Here's what's making news right now.
A tragic accident. Peel police say they've discovered the body of a male in the Credit River after an hours-long search for a missing person.
After Saturday's crowd at Trinity Bellwoods, provincial health officials have decided to hold off easing public gathering restrictions, while Toronto's top doctor issues health advice to the park goers.
And Toronto isn't the only city in the GTA seeing reckless behavior. It's happening in Mississauga as well, with large groups meeting in outdoor parking lots.
Emergency room doctors say don't avoid the ER just because you're afraid of COVID-19.
It's actually minutes that count.
Some hospitals are only seeing half the number of patients as before the pandemic.
Small group workouts could be coming for NHL players very soon, as the Raptors and Grizzlies could be in round one of the NBA playoffs when the season resumes. Sports at 45.
Perfect day for a dip. Pool sales are through the roof amid the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're not just talking about the expensive ones. No doubts, Monday, the TSX starts the week with a 161.
I don't think we're happening around us. They didn't make it to TV until like 5 to 10 years after
Time for
that.
traffic and weather to get on the
Tech
ones.
Nine, you
Let's
wouldn't
check
believe
in
me, I
with
said
Craig
that
here.
20 years ago.
This
I
report
just
is brought to you by
cracked the white
PinnacleHomeCare.ca, and it's a very slow drive through some zones of construction. So on the eastbound 401, jammed solid in the express from approaching the 404 through to east of Warden. They're in the 3 right lanes blocked off. You want to be in the collectors through this stretch, and it does slow down in the collectors for a very short period as you approach the 404, but it's much better than the express once you get past the 404. If the collectors pass the 404, things start to get back up to speed, so that's the good news. Highway 25 ramps to and from the eastbound 401 are also closed, and the eastbound 401 ramp to Meadowvale, that's been shut down. West of Curtis Road, delays to left lanes are blocked off for construction. The Nielsen ramps to the highway also closed. Markham Road ramps to and from the highway are also blocked off. We have South Allen and the Dufferin ramps to the westbound 401 closed. And then it really jams up on the westbound 401 as you approach the 427. Only a single lane is open. And we're seeing heavy delays back to right from Dixon Martin Road. Westbound 401 ramp to Highway 25, that's coming in as closed as well. Southbound 414 ramp to the eastbound 401, pretty big ramp closure. Northbound 427 ramp to Highway 7 closed for maintenance. Maintaining your independence and thrive at home. Pinnacle Care's highest priority is your health and well-being. Visit PinnacleHomeCare.ca for a free evaluation. Your next report is at 11:41. It was the forecast. Here's Natasha Renza. Hi.
Skies clearing out tonight. The humidity is holding on. It's going down to 28 degrees that low, but it's going to feel like 25 at the coolest point of the night. And it's another mainly sunny, hot and humid day tomorrow. 31 degrees with a humidex of 38. Risk of thunderstorms this time not targeting the west end like they did on Monday, but instead targeting the north into cottage country. Tonight we're down to a low of 20 degrees.
Downtown Toronto this hour, we've got a partly cloudy sky, 22 degrees, 680 News Time, 11:33.
We're breaking news from Peel Police who say they have recovered a body following an extensive search in Mississauga's Credit River. Police tell 680 News 911 callers reported seeing a male victim go into the water and he did not come back up. The first calls came in before 4 o'clock this afternoon near the Credit River, on the Credit River near Old Dairy Road and Mavis.
Officers have yet to release much detail, only calling it a tragic accident. There are road closures still in place in that area for this investigation. Stay at 680 News for more.
Toronto's top doctor urging crowds of thousands who were at Trinity Bellwoods over the weekend to keep an eye on their health. The incident prompting officials to push back loosening public gathering restrictions. The comes as Ontario reports 404 new cases of COVID-19 and 28 more deaths today. Here's 680's Michelle Mackey.
The advice from Toronto's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Eileen Davila, to the parkgoers is clear.
It is important that you monitor yourself carefully for COVID-19 symptoms for the next 14 days.
But while Premier Ford is calling for mass testing, Davila says they should only get tested if they have symptoms due to the potential false negative result if a test is done too soon. So why not ask the 10,000 people who gathered at Trinity Bellwood Saturday to self-isolate as a precaution?
The risk is generally lower in an outdoor environment where you're not in a closed space. And the other thing, of course, is that there isn't a clear known exposure to a COVID-19 case.
Meantime, provincial health officials have pulled back on easing public gathering restrictions due to recent COVID-19 case increases and the scene at Trinity Bellwoods. I'm Michelle Mackey.
680 News Time, 11:35. The scene from Trinity Bellwoods and many Torontoians suggesting that the city put physical distancing circles in parks, similar to those seen in Brooklyn, San Francisco. You've probably seen these pictures on social media. These two cities installed the lawn patterns to grant people their own space that adheres to the physical distancing recommendations. Dolores Park in San Francisco and Domino Park in Brooklyn each have their large white distancing circles that have proved both popular and functional. Earlier today, Mayor John Tory mentioned them as a potential design option in a press conference. While City Councilor Joe Cressy said they're looking at a number of ways to make physical distancing possible in parks.
Just like Toronto, the city of Mississauga has its share of residents behaving badly. Here's the city's Phil Martino. Mayor Bonnie Crombie says they're starting to see a concerning trend in Mississauga.
Large groups of young people meeting in parking lots and from our power malls or strip malls and our car washes over the weekend, Friday, Saturday evening in particular. Our enforcement teams teamed up law enforcement along with Peel Regional Police issued 87 tickets over the 2 nights for people gathered to observe street racing.
Crombie's urging residents to follow the COVID-19 guidelines for just a few more weeks because she says we don't want to risk the gains that we've made. She adds, for the most part, Mississauga residents have been very compliant. The city has seen a jump in COVID-19 cases, 275 in 72 hours. I'm Phil Martino.
Health officials saying the steady rise in COVID-19 cases could be attributed to an increased number of gatherings on the Mother's Day weekend. Speaking today, Health Minister Christine Elliott says the rise could be traced back to when residents were likely gathering with more than 5 people.
But what we're going to see going into towards the end of this week will really be more based on what happened with the opening up of the economy that started last week. And that's where both Dr. Williams and I will be very interested in the numbers. We hope that they will continue to go down.
The Premier's own Mother's Day celebrations came under fire after he told reporters that 2 of his daughters, who are not members of his household, came to his home for a visit. For the 5th consecutive day, the number of new COVID-19 cases in Ontario was over 400.
After Premier Doug Ford made a public plea to get tested, concern is growing among immunocompromised patients. One woman with cancer says she was told she had to line up at Mount Sinai Hospital with dozens of other people.
Right at that point, that makes me say, okay, no merge sugar, 5,
It's ridiculous.
This
Kara
shit, no,
Heitman was
5,
diagnosed
no,
with
4.5.
breast cancer in February. She finally had a mastectomy 5 weeks ago, but the cancer had spread, and she's scheduled to start chemotherapy tomorrow. Her oncologist from Mount Sinai told her she had to be tested for coronavirus before starting the drug treatment. I asked if I could be tested somewhere other than a COVID testing center. I was told no. I asked if I could go to a different hospital that had a drive-through COVID testing center. I was told no. Now I have the doctors sending me into the belly of the beast. Ontario's top doctor agrees.
Is it reasonable that she should have to line up with the general population, some of whom were showing symptoms?
Their physician who is organizing the surgery would want to have good advice given to their patient where they could obtain the test in a safe way. Can't comment on this particular one, the details. I think it is a little bit concerning.
Immunocompromised people are not asymptomatic. I don't see how
Mount Sinai says in a statement, a separate testing area is not necessary, noting they provide hand sanitizers and masks and ensure physical distancing and disinfection.
680 News Time, 11:38. Emergency room visits are down with many people afraid to catch COVID-19 in the hospital. 680's Mark Douglas tells us doctors want you to know you still get the treatment you need.
The busiest emergency room network in Canada has seen a 56% drop in visits. Those are the numbers for the 3 ERs run by Trillium Health Partners.
I'm still.
That's Dr. Eric Latovsky, Chief of Medicine at Trillium Emergency. He says people are putting off their very much needed visits to the hospital because they're afraid of catching COVID-19, and that makes them much more sick than they already were.
Except
it's not just heart attacks.
Perforated gallbladder, which is quite a rare condition. We've seen serious cases of abdominal pain presenting.
Some of these old people remember the hepatitis C
pain. Latovsky wants everyone to know emergency rooms are clean and safe.
They're going, no, look, they're killing off all the old people. No, I'm not going to fuck you. I will ride it out and die right here. I'm not going to the hospital.
I'm Mark Douglas.
A heat warning still in effect for Toronto. It's expected to last until Wednesday as daytime highs reach above 30 degrees. Tonight's daytime high reached 32, and tonight we're expected to go down to 20 degrees. Starting tomorrow, the city will open 6 locations that are publicly accessible and air conditioned for those that need it. Environment Canada warns extreme heat affects everyone, and to drink plenty of water even if you don't feel thirsty. They also warn people to stay in a cool place and to never leave pets inside a parked car.
Put us on and find out what to wear. The best weather reports in the city every 10 minutes on 680 News.
What are they supposed to do?
News gas price update. Edinburgh predicts the price will not change at midnight. It will stay at 95.9 cents a litre at most GTA stations.
680 News Time, 11:40.
Welcome to Bright Spot, an online community created especially for older adults, where you can learn new skills, stay fit, enjoy fun activities, meet new people, or stay in touch with friends, all from the comfort of your own home. Why not join us at the Bright Spot? Because after all, this is your time to shine. The YMCA of Greater Toronto. Visit brightspotymca.ca.
Really?
680 News
I know what that means too. Oh my God, you look like you look from your home. No offense, not creepy.
This report brought to you by Shoppers Drug Mart, and it's a slow drive in some spots here because of construction on the eastbound 401. So construction approaching Victoria Park to east of Warden in the express. 3 left lanes are blocked off. It's solid from the 404. You'll want to be in the collectors through this stretch too. We have some ramps blocked along the eastbound 401 tonight. The Highway 25 ramps to and from. The northbound Allen ramp is closed. Northbound Morningside and southbound Meadowvale ramps to the eastbound 401 are also blocked off, and the ramp to Meadowvale is also closed.